At 78, Rob Reiner finally tells the truth about Carroll O'Connor. Rob Reiner was born as Robert Reiner on March 6, 1947 in the Bronx, New York. He grew up in a home where telling stories, performing, and being creative were just part of everyday life. His dad, Carroll Reiner, was already a really famous person in comedy. He wrote and acted on legendary TV shows like Your Show of Shows and later created The Dick Van Dyke Show. Growing up in that kind of home gave young Rob a front-row seat to learn about comedy, timing, and storytelling. It also taught him all about show business naturally, though he would end up creating his own special style as a movie maker and performer that was different from his dad's work. Reiner first became famous as an actor in the early 1970s when he played the role of Michael "Meathead" Stivic in the groundbreaking TV sitcom All in the Family. His character was the liberal son-in-law who was always arguing with Archie Bunker, played by Carroll O'Connor. The show became one of the most socially important and talked about programs of that time. It used comedy to talk about serious issues like race, politics, gender roles, and fights between different generations. Reiner's acting earned him lots of recognition and respect. It wasn't just a role that defined his career, but it also gave him the confidence and fame to move into other creative things. While many actors might have stayed stuck playing the same type of character after such a famous TV role, Reiner instead reinvented himself as a director with amazing range. His first movie as a director came with the 1984 cult classic This Is Spinal Tap, a fake documentary that has since become one of the most loved comedies of all time. What made it special was its super sharp making fun of rock culture and its serious delivery, which tricked some people into thinking it was a real documentary. The film showed Reiner's ability to capture humor in ways that were both silly and truthful, a skill that became what he was known for throughout his career. After that, Reiner directed a bunch of critically acclaimed and commercially successful movies throughout the 1980s and 1990s. These included Stand By Me, 1986, an adaptation of a Stephen King story that tenderly explored themes of friendship, death, and growing up from childhood to adulthood. It remains one of the most touching coming-of-age films ever made. He then directed The Princess Bride, 1987, a film that mixed up genre boundaries by combining fantasy, romance, comedy, and adventure. Though it didn't make a ton of money at first, it became a cult classic and is now considered one of the most universally loved films in movie history. Reiner's versatility showed again with When Harry Met Sally, 1989, a romantic comedy that changed the genre with its clever dialogue, real exploration of relationships, and unforgettable moments like the famous diner scene. The film was a cultural milestone and helped make his reputation solid as a filmmaker who could mix humor with deep human truth. He followed this with the intense military courtroom drama A Few Good Men, 1992, which showed his ability to handle high-stakes drama with the same skill he had brought to comedy and romance. The film contained some of the most iconic lines in movies, including Jack Nicholson's "You Can't Handle the Truth," which has become part of American pop culture. Audiences first noticed his versatility when he appeared in the pitch-dark comedy Throw Mama from the Train, 1987, a film that paired him with Billy Crystal and Danny DeVito and gave Reiner the chance to show his sharp comic timing. He continued to remind viewers of his acting range in Nora Ephron's beloved romantic classic Sleepless in Seattle, 1993, playing a role that added humor and humanity to the story of love and second chances. Woody Allen then used Reiner's skill for offbeat comedy by casting him in Bullets Over Broadway, 1994, where he proved he could do well in witty, fast-paced dialogue. From there, Reiner showed up in a bunch of films during the 1990s that made his status solid as a dependable and likable supporting player, including The First Wives Club, 1996, the political drama Primary Colors, 1998, and Ron Howard's satirical look at reality television, EDTV, 1999. Each performance, while different in tone, highlighted Reiner's ability to adapt to whatever story he was part of. Reiner also frequently appeared in his own films, often giving himself roles that let him make fun of Hollywood while contributing to the storytelling. His most iconic self-casting remains his turn as fake documentarian Marty D. Berge in This Is Spinal Tap, 1984, the cult rock mockumentary he directed that became a cornerstone of comedy film. He later gave himself parts in The Story of Us, 1999, and Alex and Emma, 2003, where he balanced humor and sentiment, as well as a more serious supporting role in Shock and Awe, 2017, his journalism drama about reporters investigating the Bush administration's case for the Iraq War. These performances showed his ability to shift from satire to sincerity without ever feeling out of place. Beyond scripted roles, Reiner has often been willing to make fun of his public persona. He made playful cameos in comedies like Dickie Roberts, Former Child Star, 2003, where his willingness to parody himself showed his self-awareness, and in 30 Rock, 2010, where his appearance was a clever wink to fans who knew him as both an insider and satirist of Hollywood. He later charmed a new generation of viewers with recurring appearances on the hit series New Girl, 2012 to 2018, where his character added depth and warmth to the quirky ensemble cast. And in 2013, he surprised audiences with a role in Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street, holding his own alongside Leonardo DiCaprio in a film filled with energy, chaos, and sharp performances. Even in recent years, Reiner has continued to remind audiences of his lasting relevance. In December 2023, he opened the primetime CBS special Dick Van Dyke, 98 Years of Magic, with a heartfelt tribute and on-camera conversation with Dick Van Dyke himself, bridging generations of entertainment history. For viewers, the moment was a reminder that Reiner is not just a participant in Hollywood's story. He is a living connection between the golden age of television, the groundbreaking films of the late 20th century, and the changing landscape of today's entertainment. Rob Reiner's personal life has been marked by two important marriages that shaped not only his family but also the course of his creative journey. In 1971, at the height of his growing fame as an actor and before his career as a director had taken off, Reiner married actress and director Penny Marshall. Marshall was already a recognizable person in the entertainment industry, known for her comedic charm and her rising career that would later blossom with her work on the beloved sitcom Laverne and Shirley and her future success as a groundbreaking female director in Hollywood. Their marriage put two highly creative people under the same roof, both deeply involved in the entertainment world. During their marriage, Reiner legally adopted Marshall's daughter, Tracy Reiner, who was born in 1964 from Marshall's earlier marriage to Michael Henry. Tracy would go on to carve out her own career as an actress, appearing in a number of well-known films, including A League of Their Own, Apollo 13, and Die Hard. Though Rob Reiner and Penny Marshall ultimately divorced in 1981 after a decade together, their union had lasting importance not only in shaping Tracy's life but also in cementing bonds within Hollywood's interconnected creative community. Even after their split, both remained influential figures in the film and television world, and their time together continues to be remembered as an era when two trailblazing artists shared both personal and professional lives. Several years after his divorce, Rob Reiner's personal life took another important turn during the production of one of his most iconic films. While directing the 1989 romantic comedy When Harry Met Sally, Reiner met photographer Michelle Singer. Their meeting was lucky, not only changing the direction of Reiner's personal life but even influencing the film itself. According to Reiner, his relationship with Singer inspired him to change the original ending of the movie. Initially, he had planned for the two lead characters played by Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan to part ways without a romantic resolution. However, after falling in love with Singer, Reiner reconsidered, deciding instead to give audiences the now famous happy ending that helped make When Harry Met Sally one of the most celebrated romantic comedies of all time. Beyond its movie impact, their connection blossomed into a lifelong partnership, and Reiner married Michelle Singer later that same year in 1989. Together they built a family, welcoming 3 children into their lives. Jake, born in 1991, who would later follow in his father's footsteps with a career in acting. Nick, born in 1993, who pursued a path as a writer and has spoken openly about personal struggles, even inspiring Reiner's 2015 film Being Charlie. And Romy, born in 1997. The youngest of the Reiner children. Their family life has been one of stability and love, with Reiner often crediting Michelle for bringing joy, balance, and renewed purpose into his life. In many ways, his marriage to Michelle Singer not only influenced one of his most famous films but also gave him the stability and inspiration to continue his long, multifaceted career in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, now a celebrated director, actor, and activist, has lived a life filled with remarkable experiences in Hollywood. But one of the most formative and meaningful periods of his career came when he worked alongside Carroll O'Connor, the legendary actor who played Archie Bunker on All in the Family. For years, fans wondered about what the relationship was like between Reiner, who played the liberal son-in-law Michael "Meathead" Stivic, and O'Connor, who embodied the bigoted but strangely lovable patriarch Archie Bunker. Now, at the age of 78, Reiner has spoken openly about their dynamic, putting to rest both rumors and misconceptions. Reiner recalled those early days of All in the Family with a mixture of awe and deep respect. Carroll O'Connor was one of the most brilliant actors I have ever had the privilege of working with, Reiner admitted. What people don't always realize is how much of that role came from his incredible intelligence and thoughtfulness. Archie Bunker could have easily been a cartoon, just a one-note caricature. But Carroll gave him humanity. He gave him depth. He made Archie someone you hated, but also someone you weirdly understood. That was Carroll's genius. For many years, there were stories going around that Reiner and O'Connor didn't get along because of the political and generational divide their characters represented. Some fans thought that the fiery exchanges on screen mirrored real-life tension off-screen. Reiner cleared this up. "We didn't fight off camera. We didn't hate each other. Quite the opposite. We had enormous affection for each other. Carroll was like a mentor to me. I learned so much from just watching him work, how he could control a scene with just a look or a pause. I was in awe of him." Still, Reiner admitted that the weight of playing opposite someone as commanding as O'Connor was intimidating. "Every time I went into a scene with Carroll, I had to be at the top of my game. He pushed me to be better without ever saying a word about it. He just set such a high bar as an actor that you had to rise to meet it." The show itself dealt with controversial topics: racism, sexism, war, politics, and often sparked heated debates across America. Reiner credited O'Connor for being fearless in taking on such a role. Carroll knew exactly what he was doing. He knew Archie was going to push people's buttons, and he embraced that. He once told me, "If people aren't uncomfortable, then we're not doing our job." That stuck with me my whole career. That idea that art should challenge, not just comfort, has guided me as a filmmaker. Reiner also spoke about the personal side of O'Connor, describing him as deeply thoughtful, warm, and even shy. Off the set, Carroll was very different from Archie. He was gentle, he was kind, and he was always reading. He was an intellectual. People who only knew Archie Bunker would be shocked to see the real Carroll. He hated bigotry. He hated the very things Archie stood for. But he played them with such honesty that people sometimes got confused. But Carroll never confused himself. He knew exactly where he stood. As time went on, Reiner and O'Connor maintained a friendship, and Reiner admitted that O'Connor's influence on his life extended well beyond the years of All in the Family. "He showed me that you could use humor to open people's minds. He showed me that an actor's job is to make people feel, even if it makes them uncomfortable. I carried that with me into directing films like Stand By Me and A Few Good Men." That's Carroll's influence right there. When asked if there was one thing he wanted the world to know about O'Connor, Reiner grew reflective. "The truth is, Carroll O'Connor was one of the kindest men I ever met in this business. People saw Archie and thought maybe Carroll had a little of that in him, but he didn't. He was generous, he was supportive, and he cared deeply about people. I think the world misunderstood him sometimes because the character was so strong, but Carroll himself was nothing like Archie. And I feel lucky, really lucky, that I got to know him." At 78, Rob Reiner's words carry the weight of a long and distinguished career, and his tribute to Carroll O'Connor not only clears away old misconceptions but also shines a light on the legacy of an actor whose work continues to resonate decades later. "I loved him," Reiner concluded simply. "He wasn't just my co-star. He was my teacher, my friend, and one of the greats."